So for 2025, which helmet makes the most sense for you and for how you like to ride? Or for how you want to ride? Or for how you do ride? Or just which helmet makes the most sense for you in 2025? Let's get in the video.
Ah yes, helmets. We hope we don't need them, but we also hope we don't run out of talent. Before we compare vents to visors, acronyms to adjustments, let's back up slightly. Not all helmets have the same design intent. Some offer minimal coverage in exchange for also minimal weight and maximum airflow. This is great in the desert, but on high-speed, big-hit jump lines, potentially deadly. Consider what you need to prepare for. If you're the type of rider that avoids big jumps, well, a small helmet may be just fine. But if you enjoy logging air miles, consider a more robust helmet, as you never know just when a stray Blackhawk might appear. Where I ride most often, our trails are fairly built up in high speed. I tend to prefer more protection than what a traditional road biking-inspired helmet can indeed offer. My favorite kinds of helmets are the 3/4 design, like the Fox Dropframe and the Giro Tyrant. These offer much more cranial coverage and protection than do the little lids, but they're far less cumbersome than an entire full face. They cover far more of the skull and stay in place during a crash way better than the little buckets do. Every time I mention that these helmets are safer, a huge army of commenters is deployed telling me the only helmet I should ever wear is a full face. How often are you actually using your chin bar? I agree, no one wants to lose any teeth. The more common instance of slapping your head sideways into a tree or the ground, well, any extra coverage you have going down the side and back of your skull, that only helps protect your brain from reenacting the mixing of tints and shades in the shaker machine in the paint department. Full faces mean you can't communicate effectively with other trail users, you can't hydrate well, and can even be potentially putting your neck at more risk. Find the compromise that works for you and be a soldier about it in the comments below. A lot of helmet choice also comes down to your local conditions. For a good 6 months out of the year, here in the Northwest, I'm too cold. For another 4 months, it's perfect. And for maybe 8 weeks, it's a little bit warm. And then I enjoy the breeze allowed by the little lids. But when in Arizona, I definitely understand why most folks go for the smaller lids.
Kind of.
One of the best developments in helmet safety transparency has been the publication of helmet rankings from Virginia Tech. The lab shares their methodology and currently has 258 helmets ranked.
Why not wheelie the whole trail? Why not?
With the exception of the Leatt, all these helmets have earned a 5-star safety rating from Virginia Tech. I think that's awesome, but I also like to mention that these rankings are certainly not the end-all, be-all. I bought most of these helmets myself from Jensen USA, though I was able to secure some slightly discounted pricing due to my work with Jensen USA over the years.
Oh, I was definitely modulating front brakes down that hill.
If I didn't buy the helmet, which is true for a couple of these, I will disclose that as well.
So I don't know about all of you, but I love riding my bike. And I don't care if it's getting cold or wet or icy or snowy or whatnot. I try to ride my bike all year long throughout that. And even if it is getting really cold, I tend to put on some pretty good high quality, very warm clothing. Now that does pose a challenge for winter riding because our climbs are still very steep and slow. So we end up sweating our tails off, even when it is cold out. I found that I can actually start seeing signs of dehydration in the wintertime almost as quick as I can in the summer. Now, I've been very grateful to partner with the folks over at Element, spelled LMNT, who make a really simple electrolyte supplement. I found that with one of these in my water bottle, my hydration is far more effective, and that helps prevent the dehydration that can still set in the winter months. I've got a link in the description below. It's drinkelement.com/Jeff, Jeff. And anything you purchase from that link will earn you a free Element sample pack. Today we're drinking the orange salt flavor, and it's one of my favorites. Big thanks to Element for making this video possible, and thanks to all of you for tuning in, watching, and for many of you have tried this and enjoyed it. Stay salty, everyone.
Let's run through my main 6 helmets from the last year and a half. Endura MT500 MIPS. Endura gave me this helmet at Sea Otter in 2023. Endura has also been buying ads on my YouTube channel for the last year. Now this helmet does use Koroyd, and I haven't historically been the biggest believer in Koroyd over the years. For reference, I talked a bit of smack about the Koroyd and the Smith helmets in the last helmet review video. Well, the Endura helmet would change all this. And no, I could not use my fingers to poke the Koroyd out of Endura's helmet like I could with the Smith. So here's me in Spain, enjoying a casual trail ride with Enduro World Series race winner Damien Oton. Here's me running out of talent and diving headfirst into a rock. Here are my cats missing me, and here's the aftermath of meeting that Spanish rock. This helmet absolutely worked to prevent a concussion on that crash.
Oh. Yeah, I just ate it. I'm taking a minute. Oh, Endo right there. Oh.
Take the corner wide and then...
I ran into the rock and then just got pitched. So that was a dumb move. I was not focused, trying to follow Damien, and didn't pay enough attention and hit that rock. Hardest crash I've had all year. I think the bike's okay. Let's take it down slowly. Broken backpack.
From examining the helmet post-crash, it appears the Koroyd and EPS worked like a two-stage system in order to better absorb that impact. I came away from that tumble impressed with just how well the Endura helmet did, especially considering how little that helmet is. I've hit my head plenty of times, and I was absolutely blown away at how gentle that impact felt. My leg was black and blue for the next week, my backpack got torn to shreds, and I hurt pretty good. But my head was the least of my worries. Truly impressive for such a little helmet to work that well. Of course, you're always going to be stoked on something after it saves your bacon. But for the review, I found the Endura's comfort overall to be okay. On longer rides, I get tired of wearing it by the 3-hour mark. That's still a long time, and my saddle sores are usually worse than any helmet discomfort within 3 hours, but this was not my favorite helmet when it came to comfort. The visor was a little small, and overall head coverage was less than what I prefer, but for warm weather stuff, it was actually a pretty good compromise. Price is a little high, but the safety is, as I found out, respectable. Bluegrass Rogue Core MIPS. I grew up going to bluegrass festivals and events all over California, but it appears that this helmet has nothing to do with either old-timey musical genre or what grows back east in rural Kentucky. So how I got this helmet is a little quirky. Orbea flew me out to Spain to ride their most recent Rise, and as a part of that press event, they gave all attendees these bluegrass helmets. Kind of a sweet deal, but I was going to be a good Boy Scout and rep my Endura helmet as I was indeed selling ad reads to Endura. Like I just explained on that first day, full of equal parts jet lag and vinegar, I had to fatefully test that Endura helmet, turning it into modern art.
Goodbye.
That I absolutely love.
But there I was with a freebie new bluegrass helmet conveniently waiting for me back in my hotel room. And almost a year later, and the Rogue helmet has been great. This has become a warm weather favorite for me. My biggest complaint is that protection feels minimal. But for things like riding in the barren Arizona desert or gravel grinding, the extra airflow and lighter weight are worth the safety sacrifice. Overall quality to the Bluegrass feels decent, and the Fidlock buckle was quite nice. The MIPS liner is well made, quiet, and the overall fit is quite comfortable. Just like with Doc Watson, I'm a fan, especially if you can find this one on sale.
Oh! If you've been enjoying this video, please scroll on down and hit that little red subscribe button. That'll super help us out. And we publish about 1 video a week, more or less.
Troy Lee A3. I bought this helmet myself. As a former racer guy, I'll always have a sweet spot for Troy Lee helmets. Even sitting still, they always look fast and badass. Between the edgy industrial design and sprint car-esque graphics, the A3 looks more Lambo than Lento. I really enjoyed the A2 helmet for my first review back in 2021, so my expectations were Space Needle high for this white piece of protection. Given that Troy Lee goes together with Southern California like In-N-Out Burger with chest pain, I expected warm weather performance to be amazing. Well, let's just say this, I'm not mad, but I am disappointed. My biggest complaint is that sweat goes right into my eyes. The A2 I tested previously actually worked better. The A3 does have a nicer magnetic buckle, but the repeatedly broken visors have been a big disappointment. Yep, I've broken 2 visors now. The design is just too fragile, and for someone who's often bumping branches out of the way with the visor, this is also a bit of a safety concern. I did reach out to Troy Lee about a warranty visor, and they sent me a no-charge replacement, but still, it's rare that a visor breaks, let alone 2. Now, comfort on the trail was really good, and I could do 4-hour days in this helmet without complaint. I do wish that the visor was larger and stronger, and that the sweat management system simply worked better. Now that it's on sale, it's all more worth it, but I expected more out of this helmet. I will say that Troy Lee is my favorite style and artwork out of all these options, and I really wish they would make a good 3/4 option to compete with Fox and Giro. Hopefully that happens one day.
Wow.
Leatt Enduro 4.0. Outside of neck braces, I hadn't thought about Leatt really at all. Then I went to a motorcycle race up in Lake Tahoe, California, and saw a Leatt booth, which was chock full of all kinds of gear. The guys there recognized me, and the next day I met with one of the managers. Turns out a bunch of former Giro staff has moved over to Leatt. I did request gear from Leatt, but nothing ever showed up. So I went ahead and bought this helmet on my own, and I proceeded to wear it a ton. I struggled a bit to decide which Leatt model to buy, and it seemed the Enduro 4.0 was going to be the closest to that 3/4 shell design that works so well for my needs. This is the only helmet here with an optional chin bar, and it is indeed very well made. I have quite a bit of confidence in this chin bar, as once installed, it's stiffer than a guardsman at Buckingham Palace, and it looks about as authoritative, tourists be damned. I think removable chin bars are a great idea. That said, I never remember to bring my chin bar on a ride. Even most of my backpacks can't carry a chin bar, and I even try to avoid terrain that necessitates such gear in the first place. I'm primarily reviewing the helmet in the open face format, which is good, but it isn't as sleek as dedicated half shells. For the first couple months with the Leatt, I kept having to ride in the rain, and the padding inside the helmet was quite odorous. Since then, the smells have gone away. I wouldn't have minded a little bit more padding, but overall, the helmet was fine for 3-hour rides. Leatt has not had this helmet included in the Virginia Tech rankings. In fact, only one Leatt helmet has ever been included in the Virginia Tech ratings, and it scored near the back of the pack, number 211 of 258.
I reached out to Leatt for a comment, and after a few days, received the following communication. The Virginia Tech test is heavily weighted towards a helmet with MIPS due to the NOC SAE head form that is used. The NOC SAE head form is very sticky and has a high coefficient of friction, more than double that of a human head. Leatt then goes on to say, recent studies have also shown that one can not only focus on rotational acceleration, but need to look at these in combination with linear impacts. So Leatt's answer really doesn't make any sense to me. They take issue with this test giving advantage to helmets with MIPS. MIPS states on its own website that its namesake system can reduce harmful rotational motion that might otherwise be transferred to the user's head. Leatt does not use MIPS. Instead, they have their own turbine technology, and to me, it sure sounds like a close approximation to the MIPS system. According to Leatt, turbine technology decreases rotational acceleration and linear g-forces, reducing impact force and lowering the risk of concussion. Now, I'll have to ask all of you here, what do you think about this? Is Leatt's reason for not being included at all valid? I think it's odd that Leatt claims they don't want to partake in this test because it's weighted towards the inclusion of MIPS, but then Leatt is clearly using their own implementation of the exact same idea as MIPS. This doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I don't think it looks great on behalf of Leatt, but let me know what you think down in the comments below.
Okay, this might be stupid, but we need to take a map and overlay, because I don't know if I'm just like tripping out right now, but this looks like the UK cut out in the trees.
Giro Tyrant. They say never trust a tyrant, but I've done exactly that, to the point that I'd even recommend it. This helmet is a great value, as sale pricing is easy to find. It's built with quality, and has quite a bit of protection baked in. As far as I can tell, the Tyrant is unchanged since its release back in 2019. 6 years later, and it's still great. It's simple and solid. The traditional buckle is easy enough, the padding lasts a while, and the simple shell and visor design don't squeak. The Tyrant uses a helmet inside of a helmet approach to cranial hull monitoring, and there are 2 layers of EPS foam sliding within each other. The adjusting system works nicely to fine-tune size, and the helmet is about as reliable as a hammer, and could even be used as such at least once. The helmet does feel a little heavy compared to the more expensive Dropframe Pro, and it's a little bit warm for hot weather use. Finally, the size medium feels ever so slightly tight on me, but it's not bad. I can do 4 hours in this helmet without issue. It's not as comfortable or as light as the Dropframe, but it's reasonable when you consider the price. It also feels more durable than the Dropframe. While I want to replace that Fox option annually, I feel okay about running the same Tyrant for about 2 years. While most full faces and even the Dropframe muffle the sound of other trail users, the Tyrant works acoustically quite well. Also, the Tyrant visor could stand to be even longer. But as it is, this helmet is fantastic. Add in the sale pricing, and it's hard to look past the trusty Tyrant. Fox Dropframe Pro. This helmet is so good that I bought 2, though that might not actually be a good thing. When it comes to performance, this is my favorite helmet here. The prior generation was good, but sizing was horrible. The second generation is now much improved. It features a big new visor, which is great. Fit for me is also fantastic, and I can comfortably wear this helmet all day. The Dropframe Pro is fairly light despite its overall bulk. The vents work surprisingly well, yet didn't have my flesh feeling exposed like a tourist attempting to wade through the Amazon. My biggest complaint would be the flimsy buttons that hold the cheek pads. It's not a huge problem, but once in a while they unclip and require attention. That, and the helmet feels more flimsy than the much lower priced Tyrant. The deep skull coverage is great, but there could be some more aerodynamic and acoustic work done, as the wind noise is pretty bad. It's also a little hard to hear other trail users when you're in the Dropframe Pro. But for what feels like very solid all-around coverage, the drop frame is really, really good. Now the downside is that it feels a little chintzy. It feels fragile. After a handful of rides each week, all year long, and lots of associated bouncing around in the back of my van, car, and duffel, I felt bad for the helmet and guilted myself into getting a new one. With just how light this helmet is, I think I'll plan on replacing it annually, which is tough when it's $279. Though remember, that's still not even the most expensive helmet here.
Thank you all so much for joining me. It's really fun to try out all these different helmets. Huge thanks to Element for making this video possible. Thanks to Jensen USA. They've been also a big supporter of the channel, and I purchased most of these helmets myself from Jensen USA. I've got links to all these helmets over at Jensen down in the description down below. Anything you do purchase from Jensen, that'll help support the channel. Big thanks to Riley for his help editing, Logan for his help in filming, and thanks to all of you for being here and watching. With that, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace and wheelies. I'm not good at YouTube.